Welcome back to YLA Talk 2 Sing Song, Share and Tell. So I'm Jocelyn, this is Yvonne, this is Wan-Ping. So recently when I meet my clients, right, I keep hearing this question from them. Where to stay, where to live when they sell their property?
Yeah.
So a very common question because most of my clients actually thought that they have to always rent a place when they sell their property. Not necessarily so. And the answer to this question would be always managing timeline. So about of the whole client that we are actually facing, right, is that maybe HDB to HDB upgraders, HDB buying an EC, HDB buying a private. So all these timelines are very different. So today I'm going to share all of them. So in this case, I have been handling a lot of clients who have been buying and selling HDB. And at the same time, we have to manage the process simultaneously.
Correct.
So it is important to take note that there is this 21 days OTP when we issue it and when we exercise it. So after 21 days, it will lapse and then we have to do the whole process all over again. So after the buyer or the seller, after this 21 days, they actually can do a HDB, they will have a HDB approval of 4 weeks, then completion of 8 weeks. So this whole process takes about 3 to 4 months.
So you're saying that the whole HDB buying process or selling process takes about 3 to 4 months, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But because we're doing them simultaneously, right? So during this selling period, the buying process can take place. Okay. It can be contra when the buying and selling is completed at the same time. But only one party can do that. So when one party is doing that and the other party cannot do contra, there are still other ways to go about doing it. So,
but how does it match up? Because you say that the selling takes about 4 months and then the buying takes about 4 months. So that means in between there will be a lapse period, right? That means in between I'll have no house to stay?
okay, so that's why if let's say I'm serving the seller, so when I sell their place, I will concurrently have to find a buying of the next unit. So that this 3 to 4 months actually concurrently actually
You
match
will,
it together.
basically, you complete the transaction at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I recently have a case we didn't complete almost at the same time, but we manage it in a way whereby the money comes in and the money go out at the same time, so that you don't need to touch the cash saving at all. So it's just that during this whole process, right, we need to be very particular with the buyer profile if you are selling a unit.
Yep.
And then you need to take note of your seller requirement if you are serving the buyer. Then, because you are serving the client both buying and selling at the same time, right? Because if you are selling, you need to take note of the buying buyers who come in to buy your place. And then when you are buying, you need to take note of the seller profile when you are buying for your client.
So basically what you're saying is in one transaction there can only be one contra party, right?
Yeah.
So and the contra party can ask for extension. So the other parties cannot ask for extension. Basically, it's a very complicated process. So
It sounds so confusing to me already.
cannot. But it will be easily managed if we know how to manage the timeline. So so long as you have someone managing it, you don't have to worry so much. But just know that there is a way that we can do it, right?
We can do it without even
Yep.
touching your cash saving. We can do it without you renting as well.
Yep.
So of course we have another group of HDB upgraders who will seek to buy an EC.
Yep.
So Yvonne, what do you think they had to take note then?
Okay, so for buying an EC, right, firstly we need to know that EC, there's 2 different types of payment scheme. One is a normal payment scheme, another one is called a deferred payment scheme. So today, if you are a HDB upgrader looking to upgrade to an EC, I think number one is number one question is you have to ask whether you have a place to stay. If you don't have, most of the HDB upgraders will go for the option of deferred payment scheme, meaning at the time of the purchase, they only pay 20% down payment, and upon TOP, means like 3 to 4 years later when you collect your keys, then you have up to 6 months to sell your HDB. But to do so, right, the financing part, you have to be strong in the sense that you must have enough down payment for the 20%. Then let's say if you don't have enough and most of your funds are still stuck in your CPF in your current HDB, right, then you need to take this thing called the bridging loan. So to be eligible for bridging loan, this is where we always will help our clients to do our loan eligibility together with bankers and stuff to check whether or not you have the amount of money. Otherwise, the upfront down payment is cash. So this is super important if our clients are doing deferred payment scheme. Normal payment scheme means that you are just, your first down payment is 5%, within 9 weeks you will pay the remaining 20%, and then after that subsequently your loan will start when it's building. Then another group of buyers will choose to go for deferred payment scheme, where it's usually 3% higher than normal payment scheme. But what the advantage that they have is they don't have to sell their place first. They can still choose to stay in their HDB until it TOPs, and then they have up to 6 months from TOP date to sell their house. So to do that, right, deferred payment scheme will require a 20% down payment. Then the remaining 80% will be 3 to 4 years later when you collect your keys. However, for deferred payment scheme, right, the important thing to know is that today most of your if you're a HDB owner, right, most of your CPF funds will be stuck in your HDB. So how? You will need to take this thing called the bridging loan. Bridging loan basically will bridge the amount of CPF that you have in your current HDB to pay for the condo. But to do that, bridging loan requires a certain calculation, and you also must see how much you can loan up to plus your current loan amount. So if it's not enough, do take note that your upfront down payment of 20% might potentially be in cash. So these are the calculations that you have to properly calculate it. So, but however, if you're upgrading from HDB to a EC, there are different ways of managing the timeline, which you should find out more if it's pertaining to your situation and what is your finances like before even purchasing one.
That's right.
Then there's another group that recently that we always serve is those who are upgrading to a condo, right? One thing, I know you have been serving a few of these kind of clients.
Yes.
Can you share more with us how to plan their timeline?
Well, I think for clients that is upgrading to condo, right, the timeline is so much more flexible as compared to an EC and a HDB. Because I think if today, right, you are in a very tight time frame, right, I think private, I mean, of course, if budget matches, I think private is something that you can look into, because you know, like for private, the completion can be as fast as 2.5 months to even as long as like 4 months or even more. So I think this gives our buyers a lot of flexibility in terms of planning their, you know, like the movings and everything. Because I mean, like, it's not like today you complete the sale of your HDB and then tomorrow you'll be able to move into the new house without you know, like your furnitures and everything. Yeah, so I think this provides a little bit more flexibility lah. But the thing is, for private property, right, something to note about the buyer's stamp duty, which is quite different from EC as well as HDB, is that for buyer's stamp duty, you have to pay in cash first.
That is referring to resale properties.
Correct, of course. Yes. So for resale properties, you will resale private properties. Yeah, you will have to pay the buyer's stamp duty in cash first, and then only then upon after completion, it will be reimbursed back to your. It will be reimbursed back by the CPF. Right? Am I right? Yeah. So just make sure that you have enough, or rather sufficient cash for the buyer's stamp duty, because you know, like, you don't want to, you know, get into the situation whereby you go to the law firm and then you realize that you don't have enough cash. Yeah. And also, not to mention, for new launch and resale, there are very different timelines that we are working with. So please check with a professional first before you proceed to make any purchases, because I don't want any of you guys to be living under the bridge for like the next week. Yeah, correct.
Well, they can always rent.
True that, but because like, I think the last few episodes we were saying that the rental market is really crazy hot right now.
Yeah.
So I think even wanting to find a unit is difficult. Yeah,
That's most of the stress that what people are facing right
That's
now.
why we have this episode of Managing Timeline.
Yes.
correct. So you know, like, then the next alternative, if you can't find a rental unit, right, would be to set up a tent. It's called
How about you guys?
It's a good way to wake up. All natural. Wake up to the
Okay,
stars.
when you are there, please take a video and show it to us.
Oh yeah, right. So one question for you guys: do you think that our buyers should sell first or should they buy first?
Oh, good question.
Because
Good
today,
question.
I mean, like, if today I see a unit I like, but I have not start marketing the as in my house, I might potentially lose out on this unit that I really like, right?
I can share on the HDB market if you don't mind. So I actually, when we have viewings for my unit, right, there are people who have not sold their place and they want to buy my place. Very risky. I don't highly recommend, because then that's where your timeline will matters. Remember, when completion, your money comes into your CPF, right? And then you're buying, your money will be taken out for your CPF. If you're buying first, you have to ensure your CPF and your cash are sufficient. If not, then I'm not sure how you're going to go about purchasing it in the first place.
But what if you see a house that you really like? You know, like really, really like that house, but it might be sold by the time you
Exactly. So this is what I always share with my viewers who have not sold their place, because in this current market, houses, OTP just flying all over the place. Whenever my buyer actually wants something, 1 week later they think about it, it's gone. The OTP is issued.
I don't think you even need 1 week. Probably like 72 hours you'll be like.
Yeah, it's true.
Maybe if the unit is very popular.
Yeah.
So I really don't recommend. It's a very risky move. That's why my recommendation to all my clients is always buying and selling should happen simultaneously. Worry free. So far my clients are not worried about paperwork and what's not. They just need to be updated via our group chat. I'm not going to jinx it. So far so good.
So I think that question will matter more. Okay, so if it's EC, if you're upgrading to an EC, there's no buyer's stamp duty because there's no ABSD, because naturally you have to sell your first house. If you're upgrading for a HDB and buying a condo, and then you want to buy first, you have to take note. So long as you never find a buyer for your HDB, right? And when you exercise, that means you give the 4% and stamp duty at the law firm's office for your condo, you will be taxed with additional buyer stamp duty. Okay? And that, in today's market, right, Singaporean buying second property would be 17%. So this also means that you must sell your first home within 6 months of purchasing your condo. And within the 6 months, let's say if you don't sell it, then you will not be able to get back your ABSD. Yeah.
So basically, am I right to say that you have to pay for the ABSD upfront first before you can get the reimbursement?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to be cash ready first. Yeah.
But just to add on to one thing concern just now, which is a very valid concern, because some of my seller, what if I sell my place but I haven't seen any house that I like? I think that is one of their concern as well.
That's a lot of my clients' concern. They can't find anything at all that they like in the market.
And back to your question, whereby 3 months selling, 3 months buying, how can it match, right? Actually, that's how we play the timeline. That's how we manage the timeline, in a sense whereby we actually give 1 month or so for my seller to look for a place while they're selling their place. So all this have been taken into consideration. And if you really want to know more, you really have to look for a professional to really plan for you, because then that's where we really can sit down and plan according to your needs and your timeline, your requirements and what's not.
Correct. I think a lot of I believe a lot of our buyers in the market, they will prefer to like DIY, do it themselves.
There's a lot in the market right now.
Because you get the flexibility of taking as much time as you need, but you have to be sure of your timeline and just make sure that all your payments and your payouts and everything, know exactly how it pay. When is the time that your CPF, I mean, if you're using any, that it pays back into your account so that you can use it for your next purchases.
That's right.
Because if all this does not come in time, so what can I say?
To share, I have a personal case study that I just encountered. So same thing, like what you say, DIY clients, right? So they went to purchase, and then I only got to know them after they purchased. So now that I'm in the picture, I was being told to faster sell their unit at a high price, above the market transaction. So because the timing for their CPF collection and monies will be up within a certain number of period of time, right, like 8 weeks. So, but there's no way to complete the transaction. So we even have to write up to authorities to help. So for this kind of trouble, right, it's really a hassle for the couple and even more stressful for us. because
I think it's very nerve-wracking.
Everybody's stressed.
I think it's very nerve-wracking.
Yeah, so we usually don't recommend this kind of things, and we are very particular in terms of timeline planning. So make sure you do all your homework first, and we see all your numbers first before we even take any action. Otherwise,
that's always our priority when we plan for our clients. It's always a timeline first, and then anything else after that.
Yeah.
Correct. So actually, you know, like buying a house, I thought quite easy. But then it seems
Are you speaking from which position?
Last time before I became an agent, I always thought buying a house is just buy and sell. Like I want to sell, then I just sell. Then maybe like by the next 1 to 2 months, I should get a house off my back. Then I can move on to the next one. But
some people even ask me, can I get my house within 1 month?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it doesn't work this way.
Yeah. So as you know, I mean, like after all our sharings, I think you should know by now there's really so much more.
Involved.
Yeah, correct. And also what can be, and also I think some of these processes also can't be found online. It's not like some processes you can Google it out, you know. Correct. So
to sum up today's episode, why we really want to talk about this is because so far, whatever cases that we encounter, right, honestly, there is no one-size-fits-all solution.
Correct.
And everybody finances, planning, requirements, all these are different. Even the requirements for searching for a house can take up to 1 to 2 months. So this is why we decide to address this problem here today, so that but whatever that we are sharing is just very generic concept. So please don't take everything we say 100% and just follow whatever we are saying, because we cannot take any responsibility, because we haven't really seen what is your situation right now. Yeah, so if you want to find out more, feel free to reach out to any of us. We are very strict in terms of our timeline planning, and we make sure that everything is accounted for before you even start the search. Yes. So I think we have come to the end of this episode. So that's all. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know.
That's right.
Bye.